Hi everybody, Trudy here, the One Grounded Angel, you might know me as, and I'm going to do an angel card reading for you, and it's for the week beginning on Monday, March the 25th through to the 31st, 2019, so the very last week of March. Right, let's get into it and see what the angels have for us. Oh, how convenient that the neighbours have now just started to do some construction as I started my reading. Thanks guys. Monday, Isis, past life. So there's two kind of ways we can go with this. I'll start with the more surface level stuff first. The past. What is coming up from the past for you? And as Mercury retrograde draws to a close, go into the post-shadow period, this might be occurring for you. Because retrograde means the past. And we also have a number of planets about to go into retrograde as well, including Pluto very soon, which is the planet of what is going on underneath, that hidden stuff. So anyway, what's coming up from the past? Have you got an ex that's returned? Have you got a friend you've suddenly, from years ago, you've suddenly been thinking about for no particular reason? Maybe it's not a person, maybe it's just a pattern, like you're suddenly feeling really insecure about something again. So just notice where that's coming up, and it's showing you where you need to do some healing and where you've got something to work through. Remembering that nothing goes away until it teaches us what we need to know. So the deeper level meaning here, which is very appropriate for that Pluto that I just mentioned, I know the astrologers who are watching this will understand, it's about past lives. So if you're not open to the idea of reincarnation, that's okay. I don't ever want to force any ideas onto anyone. I'm not an expert. I just share what I believe, and it's up to you what you do with that. But here's what I think, and what my intuition has really conveyed to me, and I've seen, or had messages backing this up, is that we go through various lifetimes to learn lessons, and in this lifetime there may be things coming up for you that you didn't resolve in past lifetimes, or you've got energy around you that you've taken on board from a past experience, some sort of trauma that happened to you in the past, and you've attracted, or you've got fears around that to stop you from doing that. For example, a lot of people who are on a spiritual path are really afraid of what people are going to think of them when they step into that. And that's because, in some cases, not all, in a past life, they stood out, they were the healer of the village, they did something, or they were perhaps the herbalist, or they were spiritual, or maybe a priest, or something like that, and they were punished for it. They lost their lives because of a religious war, or witch hunts, or anything like that. There is, in history, people who stand out have been punished. So a lot of us have got stuff around that. It feels threatening to us. What are people going to think of me? There's some idea, there's going to be a price to pay, or a loss of some sort, but you can't quite articulate what it is. And that's because the threat in this modern age is not quite so severe, bit of trolling perhaps, but in the past, you may have actually paid a very high price for standing out. That's one example. So this might be asking you to look at where your fears feel old. Something feels like you've had this a long time. This happens a lot with physical ailments like dodgy knees that you haven't really injured. You just always had it and you can't figure out why. It might be something you've had for a long time. The throat chakra stuff, a lot of people have really blocks around the communication. They feel unsafe to ask for what they need and they don't know why. That can be a past life issue. If you are interested in that, it resonates, it's triggering for you, you might like to speak to a past life regression expert, or you might like to seek out some energy healing, because we don't actually need to know what happened in the past life to heal it. So don't feel like you need to revisit that stuff if you don't need to. You can just erase it, clear the energy around it, I should say, through energy healing, so that you can actually learn the positive lesson and let go of the trauma or the nasty sort of energy around it. So that is a very big message to start the week. Looking at the past, history repeats, despite what split ends told us. So Tuesday, no, not feeling the love from this card deck. We're going to go back and try this one. Oh, whoa, it actually flipped and went neatly back into the deck around the wrong way. It's assertiveness. So assertiveness is something we often get confused with aggression. You know, saying what we need, asking for what we need, saying what's important to us can be misconstrued as being too aggressive, particularly if you're a woman, because your job as a woman is obviously to look pretty, not say anything. I jest. But what I'm saying is, for a lot of women, they are raised to toe the line of the men in the family and their husbands. So it can feel really provoking to actually stand up and say, I don't agree with this, or I don't support this and I'm going to go this way. The card reminds you that you can ask for what you need and say what you think in a loving way. It doesn't have to be an attack on someone. So if you're in this situation where there's something you need to say, perhaps you're asking for a raise, this reminds you to not to try and attack the person or make it personal, but to stick to the facts and have really strong arguments as to why it's legit. Have done your research on it. Where appropriate, that doesn't relate to every situation, obviously. And if it's a personal situation in which it's in a relationship, for example, or a friendship, talking about how you feel rather than you did this, or just saying, I feel like this when this happens, or you know, not putting all the blame on them, because as you probably have picked up, and I've talked about this a lot, it's never solely one person. So just the takeaway from that is to be assertive and ask for what you need, and to know that it's safe for you to do that. And if you don't feel like it's safe, then maybe you've got some work to do in that area. I just picked up a card deck and started shuffling, and now I'm having my doubts about whether that's right. It is, okay. Oh. Some cards I really don't like. I'm probably not supposed to say that. This card says smile. I mean, it just seems a little bit patronizing to me. I don't know if you guys are feeling that. The essence of the card is actually a good message. I just don't like the way it's conveyed. It's because, let me read you this text and see if you can pick up why I don't like it. Simply smile and notice the profound and healing difference it makes. To me, that's too simplistic. So what I say with this is, it's not... What I take from it is, don't pretend everything's okay if it's not. You guys know I have a real problem with that kind of philosophy, which is now being coined sort of toxic positivity I've seen online. So what I would say is, don't pretend it's okay. If things are not okay, definitely acknowledge them, because they do you more harm than good to bury those feelings. But maybe try and improve the level of positivity you can bring to a situation. It's not about denying your feelings. It's about looking for where there is good things happening, or where there is something to be optimistic about, and to try and celebrate that. Put more of your energy into the good than the bad. That's how I would take from that. And I'd also think about how sometimes we are so consumed with worries and thinking about what's going on in this brain that we're not engaged in what's going on around us. And if we can remember to talk to people and to bring something good to our interactions with them, that's grounding us and bringing us back out of that kind of mental chatter sort of space and back into grounding us back into reality, really. And it also is allowing us to engage with people on a deeper level and to really connect. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to try and articulate it a bit better than that, and when I post it on Instagram and Facebook, and hopefully try and avoid going, I don't like this card, because that's not a very helpful message. But you guys know I put my own spin on these cards. If any of you have these cards, you'll notice that I don't even bother to read the copy on the sentence on it often, because it doesn't resonate for me. And you might notice that I even interpret them slightly different to the booklet that comes with the cards, and that's because my commitment is to I'm one grounded angel, because I like to ground messages in reality. If I feel they're unrealistic, they're trying to simplify things too much, they're not helpful, I will put my own slant on it. And presumably you're watching because that resonates with you too. It's not for everybody. I'm not trying to be for everybody. I'm just trying to be true to what feels authentic for me, and hopefully that's resonating with some of you as well. So let's look at Thursday now before I run out of time completely. You and your loved ones are safe. I touched on this 2 weeks ago when we had a message about your home is safe. Safety is huge. It comes up for just about every client I work with because there are so many experiences in our lives that teach us that we're not safe. We've been hurt in a relationship, so we take on board the belief that it's not safe for me to trust people. Or we were told we spoke up for ourselves as a child and we were punished for it, so we took on board the belief it's not safe for me to be assertive and ask for what to be authentic or to ask for what I need. Excuse me. So safety is massive, and this is more of a material needs kind of general safety message, not so much about your emotional safety, although obviously that's related, more about knowing that you are safe to do what you need to do. Try not to resist making changes because you are worried about not being safe. For example, you're worried about moving to a new home because it takes you out of your comfort zone. Anything that's going to take you out of your comfort zone is going to trigger some safety issues there. So try not to let those dampen down what you know yourself is right for you. And the card also talks about your loved ones as well. As a parent, you're probably always going to worry about your kids, and I would never discourage people from doing that because it's a very natural response. But I would say if you have excessive amounts of fears about your children or any other member of your family, anyone else you love, try to let go of those. This world is, a lot of things are unpredictable, but if you can know that ultimately your loved ones are being looked after and that even when bad things come up, they will be able to make good decisions to the best of their ability, it might help you let go. Because sometimes when we're trying to control people's choices, and it's because we feel unsafe. And the delusion of having some control over that, not over that person, but over perhaps their circumstances, makes us feel a bit better. For example, I'm not sure if I share this. Yeah, I will share it with you. My father, who's now in his 70s, when he wanted to be in construction, in a builder, and his father discouraged him from doing that because he said in a recession or a time of economic hardship, that's the first industry that's going to go. Now, logically, we know that's actually not true because in a recession, a lot of industries go. It doesn't really matter who goes first anyway. But my father did become a builder. He did go on to do that. But it was an example of a parent pushing their fears onto their child because of situations that had happened to them. And I think my grandfather had been through the Depression when I can't remember the exact timing or the situations that related to that. But, it's natural to have fears, and as I have mentioned, they don't go away, but just be aware of sometimes when you're trying to influence other people's decisions or tell them not to do this or do that, maybe that's because you personally are afraid for them, and maybe if you can let go a little bit and trust them to make their own choices, that might feel a bit easier. By the way, I don't mean to sound like I'm criticising my grandfather for that. I can totally understand where he was coming from, and so can my dad. He's certainly not resentful about it. And as I said, he did go on to do the job that he really loved. So that was good. And it also meant that when he came to raise his own children, he never tried to steer us in any particular career. He just made it very clear that whatever we do, it has to be something that we like, if not love. So, and we actually, all of us have. So, and regardless of whether, we've had the GFC, I don't know if other countries call it that, what is it, the global GFC, global financial crisis. I'm from New Zealand, and we never called it that there. I know in Australia it's called the GFC, where I now live. And I actually got made redundant in that time, and I've been made redundant a couple of other times as well, because my industry is unsafe. I worked in magazines, and you don't have to be in the industry to know that is a very unstable industry. But that's okay, because it was something I loved, and I was able to ride through those and notice when that was a good thing the universe was taking me out of. In one case, a very toxic environment, very toxic workplace with a borderline I won't finish that sentence because it might be unfair to the person involved, but and put me into the right environment, which is freelancing, which I love. And yeah, that actually segues nicely onto Friday's card of leadership. And it is talking primarily about career, but it can relate to other areas of your life, asking you to take charge where you can take charge. As I mentioned, there's some things we don't have a lot of control over, economic crises, for example, to take leadership and be a role model. So that might be by modeling to your kids the importance of having a career that is satisfying to you or rewarding on some level. It might be literally in your career, if you've been approached about a leadership position and you've gone, oh, I'm not good enough for that, or maybe need a few more years, I'm not quite ready. You are good enough, you are ready, and back yourself and give it a go. It could be taking on more responsibility in some other area of your life. Perhaps you need to take more, be more involved in the care of a family member or something like that. It's you guys will need to interpret this based on what's going on in your life. But the theme of leadership, being a role model, taking responsibility, they're all related to empowering us, which is what the angels are always trying to do. And I think also tying in with this assertiveness here. So go your own way, to quote one of my favourite bands, Fleetwood Mac. Let's go to Saturday now. That was a really awkward shuffle, but this card has jumped out. It's Archangel Michael. This is not his card deck. That You and Your Loved Ones are Safe card is actually from his card deck for Thursday. So he's popped up here from a general card deck to remind us of confidence. Confidence is the theme here. That is something that he looks after. If you need a boost of confidence, Michael's your angel to call on. And remember that angels can be with everybody at the same time, simultaneously. Please don't worry you're pulling them away from someone more important by asking for what you need. And remembering that they can't be exhausted, they can't be drained, they're not human, so they have infinite amounts of energy and love and support. I've got to stop knocking this because it's annoying for you guys, to give us. So call on Michael for confidence, and remember, it's no coincidence that has come just after this card here. That's actually Archangel Gabriel pictured on that card, but it is backing up this idea of empowering you and letting you know you are good enough, and really try and back yourself. Please don't make choices to limit yourself because you feel that you're not good enough. Sometimes we limit ourselves because we have fears around failure. That could be coming from the past, just to tie it back. Or it could be tied into your upbringing. Could be all sorts of things going on. But please try not to let lack of confidence stop you, because sometimes confidence is something that develops as we see evidence that we can do something. So if you're given an opportunity, it's probably because you are good enough, and you just need to either believe that, or if you don't believe it, just try and have a go anyway and see how you go, because you're probably going to learn something valuable along the way. Here's Sunday's cards, ear chakras. Not a chakra that I personally work with. I usually tend to work with the 7 main ones. So it's kind of a lesser chakra because it's not one of those primary ones, and it's about sound. So if you've ever done any sound healing, you'll know that sound is profoundly healing. It really can clear energy and help you, bring you into your vibration with the universe. So if you've been thinking about doing sound healing or gong healing, that could be for you. Perhaps your yoga teacher does it at the end during Savasana even. But this is asking you to pay attention to sound messages. That might mean something that someone says to you that your intuition goes, hang on a second, that relates to this situation. Oh, I get that. It could be music. Music's huge. Angels use that a lot. So it could be a song, could be a song lyric, anything like that. And could even be a literal sound. Like I was doing an energy healing session where I was the client to my my own energy healer, and an emergency vehicle went past. Now, I don't live in a very big city, and this is a pretty quiet neighbourhood, so that doesn't happen very often, and it was super loud. and even disrupted her conversation. So, and she said, when that happens, it's because it's urgent that you pay attention to what we're saying. And I kind of already knew that what she'd just been telling me to do was important, and that just affirmed it. So often it's backing up something you kind of already knew. That's how intuition works. Your intuition will repeat itself until you hear it. And there are cases when it stops talking to you because you stop listening. But I think for the most part, if you guys are on a spiritual path, you're watching these videos, you're engaged in furthering your own spirituality, you will already be aware of the ways that your intuition is talking to you. You might have your brain arguing with those messages, which can happen, but you will know that they're there. And that is why the most common piece of feedback I get to a personal reading is, I already knew that. And thank you for the reassurance, because everybody needs reassurance, let's be honest. So the card could be coming up to tell you to pay attention to those messages, or it could be saying that ones you've already been noticing lately are in fact signs or confirmation. So it could be a retrospective, or it could be pay attention as you move forward. Hopefully that resonates. I do just want to point out, with this Archangel Gabriel card for Friday, there's the trumpet there. And if you know the nativity story, from the Christian tradition, you will know that Gabriel was the one who announced the birth of the baby Jesus. And, you know, hark the herald, it was all about the trumpeting, that announcement. So that's why Gabriel is often associated with communication and with delivering messages. So it just struck me that was very interesting when we had a message about being assertive. And we've also had this one about sound. So, I mean, how that all ties together is up to you. Maybe it doesn't at all, but I just felt compelled to share that with you, so I thought I would. It feels like communication and saying what we need to say, sharing our message, is going to be quite prominent this week. I would also say the past is prominent as a theme, and really this kind of empowering energy, getting us to be confident, to back ourselves, and to really move forward with what we want to do and what we know we actually can do. So it's so interesting. There's a quote, it might be Nelson Mandela, that what we're actually afraid of is our own power. And I think there's some truth in that we really don't know how powerful we are. We can only ever see this much, and the angels, they're our cheerleaders, and they're really trying to will us on because they know there's so much we can accomplish, and often we just get in our own way. But that's okay. We've got other lifetimes. If we don't get it quite right in this lifetime, I don't think anybody wants to be putting off the essential work they need to do, because the rewards from learning those lessons and evolving are immense. Thank you very much for watching. I will post these on my social media. Hopefully Instagram does not go down again. Who knows? Anything could happen. Oh, Isis has jumped out again, this past life. Isis, interestingly, is a goddess from the Egyptian tradition. For those, I feel like every time I post this card, someone responds to that. So if you have a special connection with that goddess, that would be confirmation there of that. Yes, assuming Instagram and Facebook do not have any more technical issues, these will be on my Facebook and Instagram. Please don't worry if you see the card the day before because you're in a different time zone. When you see it is when you need to see it. So don't get too hung up on that time zone stuff. And also the card can still continue to have meaning for you during that day and beyond. Sometimes people will come drop me a DM or slide into my DMs, as the young people say. They'll drop me a message and say, I've come across your card from a few days ago, but it's resonating for something now. Or I saw it 2 days ago and now this has happened and now I get it. So again, time is all relative. When you see it, when you need to see it is when you see it. So my Instagram is @OneGroundedAngel. My Facebook page is OneGroundedAngel. And you can reach me via my website, www.onegroundedangel.com. And if you need clarity, the best thing to do is to book a personal reading, which you can do via that website. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back next week reading for you, hopefully with a much shorter video. Thank you and take care.